Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Women's Health Tech Wednesday. My name is Charl. I'm a strategy associate at Hit Lab, and I will be your host for today. Just want to talk a little bit about the Digital Health Symposium. This month, we are going to be really talking about patient-centered tech. So really utilizing digital health for disease prevention. And we're going to have lots of different physicians really just talking about their experiences and also, talking about the tech in our current ecosystem. And now I want to take this opportunity to welcome our guest, Meg Columbia-Walsh. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you being here with us. Would love to know a little bit about yourself and, again, thank you for joining us.
You bet, Cheryl. Thank you. Thrilled to be here as always. I love the Hit Lab, and for everybody online, please explore all of their events. They're fantastic. I am a very long-term executive in the healthcare and digital industries. I've built and sold 5 companies, the first health site, CBS Health Watch, and an IPO as a female executive. So really thrilled to be sharing that here with you today.
Wow, thank you so much. Definitely very, very accomplished, and we appreciate, the wealth of knowledge that you bring to this session. I guess just starting off, you've this is obviously Women's Health Tech Wednesday. We're focusing on women, the importance of diversity. Really curious to know your thoughts on why is it so important for women to get together in the first place on a platform and forum like this?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked that question. One, DEI rocks. It's fantastic. It's advanced the careers of many, and there's absolutely nothing political about women. We're here to support each other. Charles, you and I are a perfect example, opposite ends of the spectrum. I'm 40 years in the industry. I'm 62, and sharing with younger female executives is so critically important because when I was a young female executive, it was the strong women in my life and the mentors that enabled me to grow, the tough love that they imparted on me to learn how to be a professional and to handle myself and to be able to work at my time in a mostly male world in the pharmaceutical industry, in the digital industry. I was one of the founders. And yet, if you ask people about health tech, women wouldn't be the first ones they mentioned, and yet we were the original founders. So supporting each other on this phone call and supporting other women in general might be more important than ever before. So all of the advances we've made do not slip in any way, and that we just increase supporting each other and increase being rock stars and following our dreams and starting companies and advancing in our careers.
For sure. Thank you so much for sharing that. And as you know, as women, we definitely navigate a lot of ups and a lot of downs when we're in this industry. Would love to know, like, how have you navigated these moments of challenge or doubt that have probably most definitely been present in, your journey to your current position?
When I first became an entrepreneur, I think that's a good example. I was managing Claritin, a very blockbuster drug, and the very wealthy product managers wanted a website. This was 1996, for those on the phone that are younger. And there wasn't anybody to build a website. There weren't even PCs on the floor, and there weren't IT departments. It was the phone guys in the basement, the network guys. Um, you know, there wasn't anybody that was saying, oh, yes, let's have women start this entire, frontier of digital health. And a matter of fact, the guys told me that if I brought it into the building, this internet thing, I would never work there again. And so, had I kept my head down and just said, oh, okay, I don't think I'm going to do this, I wouldn't have. And I didn't do that. My thought was to serve the client, and all of us at that time really were focused on serving the patient. Most of the activities we were doing, even in ad agencies, etc., were very dedicated to advancing communication to help patients with simple things like compliance at that time. And so, I had a strong mom, and she believed in my advancing. I had gone to college on a basketball scholarship, so I was always operating in this kind of male-dominated world. And I really saw early that in order for myself and my teammates, if you would, and other women to advance, that I had to act like the men and just, follow my dreams if I wanted to, be strong in a room if I needed to be, and to not have any blinders on or anybody put a barrier in front of me to stop what I knew was right for the patient at the time.
Got you. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. I feel like, definitely being in a male dominated industry can be quite quite a journey, I guess you could say. I'd love to know, I guess going a little bit more on talking about women's health and the work that you do right now. What would you say supporting, or what does supporting women's health mean to you? And this can include like, at like the clinical lens, but also beyond that.
We have such unbelievable innovation from, the cloud and AI and all of these advances we read and hear about. All of the technology within our hospital systems that we can utilize, all the advances we've made to enable communication over digital channels, and yet we still have a broken healthcare system. And in that broken healthcare system and in that digital ecosystem, the ones that suffer the most are women. For the United States of America to have an issue with maternal health care really is shameful. And we have made so many advances, but we need a better coalition to make sure that when we look at women's health, that we're looking at the foundation from the beginning of life to their life and being able to utilize all this technology to take care of them, but more importantly, to include them in the voice to make sure that they're part of those decision making. And not to be discouraged. We've made great progress in including women in clinical trials and making sure that we're utilizing text programs and hard to reach areas for maternal health care. But we need to do a better job together and not take for granted that we're there. And, in looking ahead, if I was to look at the financing, and let's say if an entrepreneur wants to start a company, in the last 5 years, we've seen tremendous focus on women led and women focused venture capital firms and other financing focused on women and women's health even. And yes, there's been tremendous breakthrough in young women being interested in starting femtech and women's health tech companies, but that does not work if the entire system, and even locally, has a focus on making sure that we are utilizing it to improve the healthcare of women, from early life through growth, because it still isn't where it needs to be.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing that. And I think it's very interesting that you said from, birth to essentially death, right? Because women's health is not just reproductive health. And obviously reproductive health is incredibly important. But I think a lot of the times women's health is kind of pigeonholed to just that. There's so many different aspects of, the health of women. And I guess I'm curious to know, in your opinion, what would you say are the most like urgent needs in women's health today that still go unaddressed?
I think we have a need for more education. I think we take the education a little bit for granted in that all young women, once they reach 13, know everything they need to know. And I'm not diminishing the role of parents, but the women themselves, they're able to tell you every single thing about how to do the video or how they use their phones. They will have one of the most powerful computers in their hands in this mobile device. But when it comes to education about taking care of themselves and their bodies, it's still too much focus on the appearance of that body versus the internal mechanism of that body and how critical it is. And my daughter is such a wonderful example of this, who is 21, who has on one arm a Whoop tracker that tracks every single thing she does for 24 hours, her sleep cycles, everything. She's obsessed with it, loves to look at it, has recovery goals for her teammates, and they're competing with each other. And yet is it so important to make sure she's going to the OBGYN to get a pap smear and that she understands why and what that is, that she understands how critical it is to talk about birth control, to talk about whatever it is in her life and related to her body internally, and not just data and not just phones for the sake of the phone, but actually educating on the best way to take care of her health besides food or what she might be watching or tracking from a data standpoint. But the basics of having a primary care physician, making sure she has an OBGYN, making sure she's taking care of learning what that means and what that will be. And the conversations that I hear among them are shallow as it's related to that part of their health. And I think we have to keep on making sure that they're, just women in general, minority women, and that it's reaching them locally, and that we are educating physicians who has been so limited in our CME education in ways that we used to reach the providers, and that the providers are made aware of the advances and what's available and the great programs each of the industry partners has, so that we are reaching those women, so that we are educating young women and stressing how important this is, that the inside of them to be a good mom, to have babies later, or whatever it is they want, that they're healthy and strong and understand why women's health for them, what women's health means for their body, and what it means to take care of themselves in that way. So that the total health picture is not just about healthy food or not just about data tracking, but it's everything you need to grow and to make sure you're going to your doctor's appointments to get there. And I do think that we've somewhat bypassed it in the technology advances, and there's some basics I think we need to still educate on.
Yeah, I guess always got to go back to the basics
Yeah.
and, making sure that we have um, the point persons in our society that actually know everything about the human body, and, making sure that we refer to them and have them be a regular part of, our journey as we grow older. I'm curious as to, speaking about, having these gaps in care, would love to know about any thoughts that you have on just like trends that you see in the industry trying to solve or like, bridge these barriers.
Well, being an entrepreneur, I'm going to twist that conversation a little bit to focus on that. There is so much incredible opportunity. I coach and mentor women all the time. And one of the main things that I have to do to start is to convince them that they're worthy and terrific, and that any dream that they have to start a company or solve a problem or a gap that they see, that they actually can go do that. And whether that means sitting down with somebody who knows to be an entrepreneur and actually start something, for them to join a startup because they see something exciting, or within one of our industry partners to go and raise their hand and see something in there, like, working in a digital advance or project that's working on maternal health care, whatever it is, and raise their hand and say, yes, I want to be a part of that. And it's so incredibly possible now. From the state level, like New Jersey, which I'm sitting in, happens to be one of the most terrific advanced New Jersey Economic Development Authority, providing money to women. In New York, you have diverse small business grants. You have the VC community and events and incubators who are waiting for, thrilled to have, love to have women and young women entrepreneurs coming into that. And so, for anybody listening that's wondering or questioning, go do it. It doesn't matter if you fail a couple of times because it's there, and you can get it right. And I've done it, and I'm not any more, I wasn't unique or special at the time I started. I just believed that there was a need and I could fill it. And I think you can too.
Got you. Thank you for sharing that. Um, how would you say, or for individuals that are interested in going into the startup space or even, becoming a founder, what are some things that you look for in founders that really, set them apart from having a great product that is scalable versus, you know, um, just a just a product, I guess.
Yeah. One is research. A lot of founders, so there's real basics in starting a company, and it's not any different from some old-fashioned operational and corporate rigor that people are educated on. Human resources, how to hire, how to run the finance, how to run all of the things within a company that you're going to need. The second is that a good idea is only a good idea if you find a niche of where that good idea can fit. And so the homework required and research required to find that special place is very, very important. And so let's say you have, an app for somebody to track endometriosis. Somebody has endometriosis, they want to track everything about it. Well, endometriosis is a huge field, menopause is a huge field. So that's not enough, right? It requires, 3 months of work to say, what am I going to do in this field? I think I have an inkling of what's missing. But then you need to actually sit down and find out what's missing. Looking at every app available and seeing where the gaps are, looking at what the bigger institutions, the pharmaceutical companies, the providers and the payers are offering in preventative health or in managing that health. Because I can guarantee that if you have an inkling that there's something missing, it's probably because you feel it personally, but you got to find the place that you can then build it and market it. Because anytime that we're going to put money into something, and it's either going to be self-funded or we're going to take money from somebody, we have to make sure that there's a return on that investment. And that can't be that 10 people need this and are going to be attracted to it. It has to be that if 10 people find it and are attracted to it, that 100,000 people are going to use it or want it because it's really something that's needed. And setting up, first of all, working with mentors who have been there and done it is critical. Doing the research and finding the niche, and then building a strategy around that niche to stick with it. What is that strategy going to be? That's what we're going to focus on. We're not going to get distracted. We're going to build that. So building the corporate structure around how that startup is going to run and making sure you're very organized that way, and then finding that niche and building a strategy around it and making sure that that can scale. And for a first-time entrepreneur, that requires the help of others who have been there and successfully sold the business. There's a lot of seminars and a lot of sessions and people looking to make money off of entrepreneurs, but you need to really talk to people who have actually built and sold successfully one or two businesses. Those are great mentors. They have gone through every pain point and they're happy, hopefully most of them, to share what they did and what they learned and mentor you and become your advisors or board members to get ahead and to be able to begin to build it.
Got you. Thank you for sharing that. I think definitely the idea of building that community is incredibly important, finding individuals that are really going to root for you. And I think that's really important, especially as women, going back to the first um, question that I asked you, why is it important to be here in the first place? Make this platform serves as a, I guess, manner in building that community and finding, those folks that will actually root for you.
Yeah.
You spoke a little bit about, I guess, just trends in terms of currently you got to market research, all things like that. I know in the healthcare space right now, I mean, AI has been a thing for a very long time, but I guess just the huge focus that we have right now on the industry. I'd love to know, how do you see AI transforming how we deliver care to women in both the, short term and long term?
I think we have to hold our corporate partners very accountable here. So every time a new technology comes in, one of the niches that I formed in founding my companies was to go and educate my clients about that technology. And then I would build that and sell it. And we can't just rely on our own huge consulting network to do that. We need actually, again, hands-on experience. So as these, let's use a pharmaceutical company as an example, makes an enormous investment in the cloud, and then makes an enormous investment on top of that in some platform like Salesforce or Adobe, etc. One is that comes out of the IT department, and we're very used to that now, and they have great control over that. And many of the vendors facing them in that ecosystem of data and technology and cloud and AI stay within that IT department. It is time now for the executives to get together in those buildings and say, how are we going to use the investment we've made in AI in the cloud and go to commercial, for example, and explain and show them and use people like myself and others to help them who've actually done and built companies in the technology in the healthcare space, to teach them how to launch and market drugs in a new way. There's no more advertisements. It's all just assets that are going to sit in content management systems and based on the data, assemble in real time your ads, your emails, your websites. It's all going to be AI generated. Well, what does that mean if I have a mobile phone, powerful, and I have a cloud infrastructure now in my building? I have someone like AWS where I can use any one of their services and turn them on and off. So I have access to the best AI in the world. How does that mean if I'm about to launch a drug in a year? What does that mean for me from a marketing perspective to use that artificial intelligence to personalize my communication at scale? I mean, if we could personalize this, it's possible, but we need to take the time to bring people in to learn how to work across the organization. So it's not just IT and manufacturing, but it's how is R&D going to use it? Clinical study department going to use it? How is mainly commercial and patient facing going to use it? We have innovation departments, but innovation doesn't have budgets. The brands still have the budgets, and the brands need to learn and try beyond digital what we're going to do for advanced technology, because it's really possible. And those pilots of taking a new drug and running a shadow campaign of how I'm going to completely use AI in the cloud to launch that drug, even if I'm nervous and I still have my teams working, is more than possible right now. And it's going to be insight and data collected through that AI experience and journey that's now uber personalized to me, that's going to give us new insight for women, especially who have been blended in with men in the data sets, to say, wow, look at how these women are behaving at different times of day, much closer to the real age instead of these, 25 to 35. Well, I mean, you're really different, 25 to 35. And so I think as we spread the technology, knowledge, and enablement across the C-suite and begin to do that more effectively, by the time we convert commercial to really understanding what personalization can do, we are going to better reach women. So if women is the goal to improve and to do a better job of actually tracking and reaching them and creating products and innovation in that space, then that's what we need to do. Is we need to go to what we do in so many other cases. We need to bring it in. We need to bring the experts in. We have to do the pilots around this because it is completely possible now. I mean, I founded my last company was an AI company in 2017. And we were doing full personalization, and two pharma companies started them with me because I happen to know the CEOs as friends, talking about women networking with women, and they're still working on those projects to be able to move from ads to assets and to be able to learn how to manage content management systems and content centers of excellence and everything to really utilize this phenomenal technology, which is not scary. It is not bad. It is not going to replace the world. It is just another new technology that's going to add on to what we already have. We will do it responsibly. We have regulators and med legal teams. It's going to be done well, but you have to still step into it, into AI in the cloud to make that investment really work. And I think right now it's moving it over in a bigger way into the commercial arena, in my opinion. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Meg, for, sharing all of that insightful, um, thoughts. And I feel like there are definitely so many like nuggets of gold that you've just shared. So thank you so much for, having shared all of that. And yeah, I think we are going to be wrapping it up. Just want to say to definitely join us next week for our Women's Health Tech Wednesday. And in addition to that, definitely want to thank our sponsors that we have here. And lastly, definitely want to thank Meg. Appreciate you being
Thank
here
you.
and really
Oh,
enjoy this
always
conversation.
appreciate it. Always wish we had more time.
100%,
Yeah.
100%.
All right.
Well,
Thanks.
we'll have you here again and we
Okay,
can
great.
continue the conversation.
Terrific. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for attending another Women's Health Tech Wednesday. Have a great one.